Today for Devotions with Daniella, we are reading Uncultured by Daniella Young. This is the chapter Drink the Kool-Aid. We are finishing up Army basic training. In a few days, after 9 weeks of training, we'd get to don our dress uniforms for the first time, emblazoned with its gold embroidery and rank, and the few ribbons we'd earned by volunteering to serve. More drill and ceremony to initiate us into the life of a soldier. As soon as we straggled out of the chapel, an orderly came scrambling up to me. "Specialist Poole," she said, a little out of breath. "There's been a couple calls for you. You need to call home. Please come with me." Home, she'd said. I was so confused. My first thoughts going to Jeff, my husband. Still so weird to say. Was he okay? Had something happened? What did she meant by home? I thought of Mom, still living in a commune in Mexico with 6 kids, including the 8th baby whose birth caused her to miss my college graduation, and the same people I'd left behind years before. Dad was always sickly. Mary and her fiancé were relatively close in Georgia with their new baby. What had happened? Was everyone okay? Sorry, folks, I need to pause and put on this thumb guard because one of the downsides of wooden needles, which I use so that sound isn't too crazy for you, is they're very sharp, and I have punctured my thumb. Back to reading. I dialed the number to the life I had left behind, and Auntie Joy picked up, running to get Mom, not even asking why a systemite was calling. I looked at the drill sergeant supervising my phone call, wondering how I would explain this family of mine. Then Mom was on the phone, and hearing her voice after everything I'd been through over the past 9 weeks, over the past 22 years, broke me in a way basic training couldn't. "Grace is sick," she said. "My daughter might be dying. I'm coming to the U.S. tonight." Mom explained that Grace, who had been relatively healthy since she'd had all her surgeries at birth nearly 8 years prior, she has spina bifida, had been getting worse for weeks. But all the local doctors in Mexico told Mom that Grace was fine. But she was not fine. She had a 106-degree fever. Mom knew something was wrong, so she bought tickets for a plane to Houston that night to take Grace to the Children's Hospital, while Dad stayed behind with the baby and the 4 boys. He could join them later. My brain couldn't process the conversation. I heard fragments about Mom possibly leaving the family, her talking to Gramps, who thought it might be time for her to find a new life. Grace, dying, a fever. If Morales, one of the soldiers in our team, died of a 106-degree fever, a fever so high it damaged his brain, surely it would damage Grace's brain too. And Mom, I considered the way she said "my daughter" like I had never heard before, like she was paying attention to these kids, being there for them, in a way she had been too young, too indoctrinated, too controlled, and too afraid to ever be there for me. "Call Heaven and Dougie," I instructed. "They'll help you. I'll try to meet you there. I'll need a note from your doctor via the Red Cross to get me out of here. Mention the high fever." Click. After filing a Red Cross emergency request, I got permission to leave basic training 2 days before graduation to meet Mom and Grace, who would undergo brain surgery to remove and replace an infected brain shunt. Danielle would bring my certificates to officer school the next week. Jeff, rather than attending my graduation ceremony as we'd planned, would meet me in Houston, and after making sure my family was okay, or not, we'd drive to Fort Benning, Georgia, so I could report back 5 days later. But all I could think about on the plane, in my uniform because I'd come straight from training, was what the next hours would bring. 106 degrees, just like Morales. Would my little sister die? I thought of little Andrew, who died of pneumonia, of Miriam, who died of the measles, of Auntie Hope and her tragic fight with the brain cancer that hadn't been demons after all, of all the others who hadn't survived to walk away. Would the cult take my family too? Or would this be their break? What did it mean for them to think about a new life? What would my new life be? Who were we to each other, apart? I grabbed my duffel bag of gear and new uniforms, and as I hailed a taxi to the hospital, I laughed, and the driver caught my eyes in the rearview mirror. Maybe my laugh was that of a madwoman, someone who had survived programming again, or maybe it was the sound of a sister, a daughter, A woman free for a few days to be in a different battle, but a fight just the same, alongside Mom, again. You can get signed copies of Uncultured attached here, or listen to me read it to you on Spotify Premium or anywhere else you get your audiobooks.